Vietnam sits at the intersection of every major Asian trade route and every 20th century war. China occupied it for 1,000 years. France colonized it for a century. America fought it for 2 decades. What passed through Vietnamese kitchens during all of that came out changed, not the other way around. These are 10 foods that were built here on Vietnamese terms from Vietnamese land. The table was never surrendered. Goi quan. Goi quan is built on ban trang, rice paper, a Vietnamese culinary technology developed within local food systems long before modern external influences became widespread. The rolling method, the herb-forward interior, the nuoc cham alongside it, none of that is borrowed from external cuisines in its final form. Shrimp and pork sit against rice vermicelli, mint, and lettuce, each element placed in a specific order so that every bite contains all of them at once. The wrapper holds everything in proportion, nothing is incidental. The dish reflects a fully formed internal logic of Vietnamese preparation, shaped through land, agriculture, and everyday practice. Bun Bo Hu. Bun Bo Hui comes from the former imperial capital, and that origin is not decorative context. It is the explanation for what the dish is. Imperial court cooking in Hue developed a flavor register separate from northern and southern Vietnam. Heavier lemongrass, fermented shrimp paste as the broth base, pork blood cubes, thick round noodles built to hold against the intensity surrounding them. That combination belongs to central Vietnam's ingredient geography and the cooking tradition the Nguyen dynasty produced inside it. It was never widely exported. It stayed structurally intact because it never had to compromise for outside audiences. What the world recognizes as Vietnamese food is mostly Hanoi and Saigon. Hue kept its own register and never adjusted it for anyone. Com tam. Com tam is broken rice, the fragments that shatter during milling considered unusable, unsellable, discarded, or fed to animals. Saigon's working class built an entire meal around it. Charcoal grilled pork, shredded pork skin, steamed egg meatloaf, nuoc cham. The fractured texture became the defining characteristic. The irregular surface catches sauce differently than whole grain rice, and that difference is now inseparable from what the dish is. You cannot substitute unbroken rice and call it the same thing. The material changed the meal. The scraps that could not be sold became the plate that defines a city more completely than anything its history imported, borrowed, or was given. Saigon took what was thrown away and built its table around it. There's still a whole world out there we haven't explored yet. So if you want to see where we go next, make sure you subscribe, and tell me in the comments where we should travel next. Chaka Lam Vong. Chaka Lam Vong is traceable to a single family in Hanoi, the John family, operating from a house on a street that was eventually renamed after the dish itself. Turmeric marinated fish, grilled then finished tableside in oil with dill and green onion, served with vermicelli, roasted peanuts, fermented shrimp paste. Dill in Vietnamese cooking is northern Vietnamese specifically, and its presence here predates colonization entirely. The fish continues cooking in fat at the table, and the dill wilts into it rather than burning under direct heat. One family, one address, one street renamed. The dish required all of those things to exist before it could exist. Ban Sao. Ban Sao means sizzling cake. The name is the sound. The noise rice and coconut milk batter makes when it hits a screaming hot pan. Not a description of what it looks like, not a reference to an ingredient. An onomatopoeia that became a permanent name. Turmeric yellow batter, shrimp, pork, bean sprouts folded inside, served with mustard leaf for wrapping. The mustard leaf is not garnish. It is the fourth flavor the dish requires. Its bitterness completes the fat and salt of the filling in a way nothing else replicates. Remove it and the dish is structurally unfinished. Regional variation exists across central and southern Vietnam, but the sound, the fold, and the leaf do not change. Those three things are what it is. Can chua. Can chua is a southern Vietnamese sour soup, and the sourness is not a background note. It is the organizing principle everything else is built around. Tamarind provides the core sour base, alongside regional souring agents such as pineapple or tomato depending on household and locality. River fish, okra, elephant ear stem, and herbs complete the structure. Many of the ingredients are native to the Mekong Delta ecosystem, but the exact combination varies by region and family. What defines Con Chua is not a single fixed formula, but the consistent use of sourness as the central architecture of the dish. In southern Vietnamese cooking, sour is not an accent. It is the direction the dish is built around. Bun cha. Bun cha is a Hanoi street dish defined by charcoal grilling and separation of components. Pork patties and pork belly are grilled over open flame until the edges char and the fat renders. They are served in a bowl of nuoc cham-based dipping broth with vermicelli and herbs on the side. The noodles are dipped rather than submerged, keeping texture and broth distinct until eating. This separation is not symbolic, it is practical, preserving the integrity of each component. Hanoi street vendors have prepared it this way since the early 20th century, and the method has remained consistent in its home environment. Banh quan. Banh quan is made from a rice batter steamed into sheets so thin they become translucent when cooked. The batter is spread over a cloth stretched across boiling water, cooked in seconds, and lifted immediately before it tears. It is filled with ground pork and wood ear mushroom, topped with crispy shallots, and served with nuoc cham. The technique is long established in northern Vietnamese cooking, developed through rice agriculture and wet steaming methods that evolved locally over time. Its refinement lies in execution speed and consistency, a skill passed through practice rather than fixed written origin claims. Bun rio. Bun rio is a northern Vietnamese crab-based noodle soup built around freshwater ingredients. Crabs from rice fields are pounded into a paste that forms part of the broth's structure when cooked. Tomato, fermented shrimp paste, tofu, and rice vermicelli complete the bowl. The dish is closely tied to river and wetland agriculture, especially in the Red River Delta, where its core ingredients are commonly sourced. Its defining characteristic is the use of crab paste as a structural base rather than a simple topping, creating a broth that sets and separates naturally during cooking. Ban hoi thit nuong. Ban hoi is woven rice noodle sheets, rice batter extruded and layered into bundles so fine the technique cannot be rushed, cannot be approximated, and is passed within communities rather than written down. The processing knowledge required to take rice, ferment it, and produce a noodle, this delicate is independently developed within Vietnam's agricultural and culinary systems. Paired with charcoal grilled pork, fresh herbs, and nuoc cham, every component grounded in local production. No element carries a foreign structural origin in its finished form. What makes this preparation significant is that its complexity is invisible. It looks simple. The noodle that requires the most knowledge to produce is the one that shows the least evidence of that knowledge on the plate. That is not accident. That is mastery. China occupied these islands for 1,000 years. France arrived with a different language and the same intention. America came after that. Each of them left marks on the architecture, on the alphabet, on the religion practiced in the streets. What they did not leave marks on was the cloth stretched over boiling water, the crab paste setting in hot broth, the broken rice catching sauce in the gaps. Those things were built here, from what this land produced, by people who kept cooking on their own terms, regardless of what was happening outside the kitchen. The world is still learning what this table looks like. It was never theirs to begin with.